Well, okay. We have another replay we can look at today. Today we're going to be doing an analysis of R plus in this W3. We'll be looking at Crazy since he was the one who submitted the replay. And we're going to go ahead and see what we can learn from this R plus replay. So it's 3v3 on egletons, pretty standard map. That's what Crazy's starting out with. He's got an AT gun, 2 flame engineers, LMG marine squad, bazooka rifle squad, and the mortar. Looking at this composition, there are a couple of things I can say I like, and a couple of things I say I don't like. What I don't like is the mortar. This is probably just a personal playstyle kind of thing, but usually I don't see a need to have a mortar in starting column unless you're specifically trying to use a certain strat. And in this case, he actually is. You see these 2 flame engineers. You can assume that the mortar is there to provide smoke to take out position for those flame engineers to go through any smoke. So if that, we should look to see if that strategy goes through. Another thing, while I don't like the mortar, I do like that the flame engineers are there to give the mortar some kind of use. If the flame engineers weren't there, I really don't like the mortar in R plus start, because if you get overrun, you're going to lose that mortar really easily. Now, another thing I don't like is their lack of Jeep, right? So lack of scouting in R plus really is painful, because you don't know what your opponent is bringing. So now we see a Stug from the start. So let's go ahead and figure out what's going on here. So we've seen the Stug, and due to the way the sight changes work, chances of the Stug has not seen him. So he has the opportunity to place his AT gun in a position where, maybe around here, so he has an angle of fire to protect from the Stug, or maybe he can go more offensive and he can actually put the ATG maybe around here. But that requires scouting, so you'd have to split your forces up, because it seems that Crazy does want to focus around this area right here. So, but the AV gun is pretty far behind as well, so he's got some time to decide what he wants to do with that. But right now he seems to be setting up in this location here. He's found the Stug there, and he knows that the opponent has not seen him yet, right? Because he saw the Stug at the edge of the sight range. So that's something he can try and take advantage of. And clearly he knows the Stug is going this way, right? So he doesn't need to follow it, and he can assume that the other player might be going in this direction as well. Although, that's another thing actually. In seeing that, you saw that the Stug was moving in around this pathway, right? You saw it going that way. So since he saw that happening, he knows that if the Stug came from this direction going this way, he can make a pretty fair assumption that the rest of the enemy team or the enemy units are going to be around here. So you can prepare for them to come here. So what he can do is he can set up basically a kill zone in these 2 locations, right here and right here, are probably reliable kill zones that he can set up against his opponent, because he saw the Stug coming in from this direction, and the opponent did not see him at that point in time. So he's got a good chance of getting a trap going here. So let's see if he can actually get that to happen. So, okay, no, it's a bit late. The opponent has seen him now because he's got infantry here. And I'm pretty sure the opponent has also seen this mine come down here. I can only assume so. The opponent is Grey Wolf. Yeah, he definitely sees these mines coming down, and I think it's a fair assumption that Crazy also knows that he's seen these mines coming down. So let's see where he goes with this. He's chasing right now, but that's an iffy thing. Now, here's one thing we've noticed though, right? Because the Grey Wolf was running these KCH and the officer, he is very wary of these flamethrowers, because flamethrowers melt through heroic armor units, which both the KCH and the officer are. So what we got now is that this Stug here is actually very isolated, and if he can find a way to kill this Stug off, he's going to be way ahead. Secondarily, the other thing that the Crazy's picked up on is he's seen the Stug, he's seen an officer, he's seen the Grenadier squad, and he's seen the KCH, so he can actually assess how much population the opponent has used. We have 8 from the Stug, the 6 from the KCH, right? So that puts him up at, what is that, 15 pop? No, another 14 pop, then another 3 from the officer. That puts you up to 17 pop, and then another 5 from the Grenadier, so that's at 22, 23. Yeah, Gary's at 22, 23 pop. So he knows that the only other thing that he could possibly have is like an MG or a bike. So not only has, and more importantly, I'm pretty sure at this point, Gary has not seen the mortar, the Marine squad, or the ATG. Now, normally I'd say having this Marine squad back here is a bad idea, but right now it's actually been a boon for Crazy, because his opponent does not know this Marine squad is here. His opponent does not know this AT gun is here. I think it's 50-50 on this mortar, but all that Gary has seen so far, for sure, are these 2 flame sappers. Flame engineers. Let's see what goes on. Another piece of information that Crazy has already picked up is that this Stug right here does not have an MG, so he knows his opponent is not going to have too many suppression sources, so he can be a bit more liberal in how he attacks his opponent. AD gun is coming up, and if he's got AP rounds, he can probably 2-shot this Stug, otherwise it's going to be a 3-shot on this Stug. And like I said, the Stug doesn't know the AT gun is here, so he's going to be taking a shot or two for free, so the Stug's moving forward, going to take a second shot because it did that forward move, probably. Yeah, the second shot does go in. And these KCH suddenly don't have armored support, not that it's going to help too much. I'm not a big fan of all of these squads being in the house together, especially when you know there's a mortar barrage coming in, but I guess it could work out. It's a pretty big house, got plenty of health. But even so, you're going to be taking a lot of damage on these squads. He does see this Marine squad now, though, I'm pretty sure, especially if he's had Spike to put the mortar down in this house. So the Axis player now does have full information. He's seen all of Crazy's units. Crazy believes he's found this house, and yeah, he is actually found this house, so good call by Crazy. The Stug does go down here with his AT gun, and suddenly... Oh, and the Axis player runs into the mine despite seeing the mine go down. Now, at this point, this is a kind of make or break moment in this R+. He's got all his units fairly close by. He sees these squads are suppressed. They're not going to stay suppressed for long because of the armor types they do have. So mortar is here. I would want to, I mean, to be honest, it should have happened a while ago, but mortar smoke should have been coming down here a while ago so these flames can go in. Now, seeing these flamers are not currently in possession of smoke for themselves, I would actually want to send the Marine squad in first, probably start in this green cover to get engagement going. Maybe send the Rifleman Feb Grenade around here and put both these Flame Engineers into this house right here. Both of them. I wouldn't... Yeah, definitely both of them. There's no reason to try and split them up here. There's no reason to flank unless there's like unless there are grenades on these as well, but they're probably not if they're not the 4-man engineers. So let's see how Crazy plays this. He's sending the Flamers in first. I'm not a big fan of sending the Flamers in first because the Axe player can just focus them down. And yeah, you see this full health Flamer squad instantly melt away. The second Flamer squad gets in the house, gets in with the Rifleman, and these KCH are in trouble because they're sitting in green cover, so they're taking double sets of damage bonus. And the mortar comes in, and and the Axe player retreats everything. So it ends up turning out to be a really good engagement for Crazy right now. And also he gets to pick up, I think that was a scoped MP44. Careful there. So now let's check out what's happened. We're only 3 minutes in, so this R+ is already engaged, right? Crazy's absolutely trashed Grey Wolf at this point in time. The question now is, you've won your R+ engagement very quickly. What should you be doing? So again, the idea of R+ is to try and win your first engagement and give your team good consolidated field position to guarantee that 2v2 on. And right now, Crazy's done that first half. He's won the initial engagement. Hands down, he's done easily. So step 2 is consolidating a good position, generally around the center, probably this church here, maybe this large house here, but this area right here is probably where you want to be consolidating this entire line. And the question is how he wants to do that. First thing would be first, he's got 7 pop open. Bring something on, even if it's only a Jeep, right? Bring something on, because what you know is going to happen is your opponent knows what you've brought on, and he also knows that you cannot change a lot of what you're going to have, right? So get some scouting on, see what your opponent is trying to do, or if you can't get scouting, try and assess what weaknesses you have and get a counter to that possible weakness you have. For example, you know you have a lot of infantry and a support weapon and an AT gun, so you could say maybe you're a bit light on some handheld AT. If you could bring on another or maybe even some stopping power with these flamers, right? So you can figure out what's going on. You try to bring something like a Marine squad. Another Marine squad with an LMG would also be a really good call if you don't suspect a P4 coming. But again, you can't assess this without some form of scouting. And you've got 7 pop. That's enough to bring on another infantry squad and probably a Jeep, right? So that's you want to utilize your pop. Just because you won the engagement doesn't mean you should sit on your pop right here. And you've got 7 pop. 7 pop is a lot of pop in the early stage of this game. 7 out of 25. That's what, almost 30% of your pop, right? And you're not utilizing it if you don't bring something on. So let's see what he does. Continuing on, this AT gun stays back here, this mortar stays back here. I would like to see this AT gun and mortar come up to support the rest of his units to see what Gary's going to bring in to counteract him. He does look like he's coming to this house. That's a good idea because you do get to extend sight range in houses. What I don't like is that actually he's putting all 3 of these squads into the house. You can probably just put like the Rifleman squad or the Flamer squad in here to cover the house. I'd probably have this Flamer down here, you know, maybe utilizing this mine, maybe building some barbed wire here to force the squad to go into this mine. Maybe some barbed wire back here in case you're worried about a flank. But this engineer can be doing a lot of things right now other than sitting in this house, right? You only need one come to the house, get some sight going. This engineer should be doing other things. Either way, we've only got about 20 seconds left in this R+ engagement. Mortar has moved up. AD gun is moving pretty far forward. I'm guessing he's trying to get a sneaky shot off on something. He assumes that Gary's going to be coming from this area here, which is a good point. but it doesn't seem like there's much else going on in this R+. So Crazy's won this with some good information placing usage and some bad play, honestly, from the Axis player. For example, he knew this mine was here, but he still ended up running into it anyways, and that's the end of this R+. So what did we learn from this R+? Okay, so there are a couple things that Crazy didn't do that you do think is standard in R+. He didn't start with a Jeep, so he didn't have great scouting, right? And he started with a support weapon that's not an MG. He started with a mortar, which is generally not the best idea in R+. He did have a strategy for it. He did have some flame engineers around, but then he didn't utilize that synergy. So you could argue that Crazy was basically playing 4-pop down in this R+, because this mortar functionally did nothing. Yeah, it did nothing. It didn't alter any engagement. It didn't enhance any engagement. It didn't enhance any strategy. So Crazy was actually playing down functionally 4-pop in this engagement, but he still came out. And so can we share why that was? Well, here's an important thing. Even though what Crazy really excelled at in this R+, is that even though he didn't have scouting, whatever information he got, he utilized very, very well. I think the most amazing thing was earlier when he saw the Stug passing through here. He saw the Stug passing through here. There are two things he picked up very fast in real time. He was able to pick up, first of all, the Stug did not see him. He knew that. Number two, he found out, instead of chasing the Stug, a lot of players would probably try and chase the Stug with their forces. He only sent the AT gun by itself. But he didn't chase. He decided to set up right around here, right? He decided to set up here. Why did he decide to set up here? And remember, this is happening in real time, right? He didn't have that much time to think about this. He saw the Stug come by from this direction, following this pathway, and he knew the Stug didn't see them. And because he saw the Stug coming from that direction, he made a very good judgment that the rest of the opponent's forces were coming in from that direction of the battlefield as well. So instead of chasing that Stug around, he set up a trap basically right here. He set the mines up. He set up a mine here. Oh, whoops. He set up a mine here, and he set up a mine here, and he set his forces up here. So that was very good use of that information he gleaned. Even though he didn't have scouting, whatever information he got, he was able to keep. Another thing he did that was interesting, I mean, I'm not that big a fan of it, but it worked out for him, is that he kept his Marine squad back here, well out of the kind of front line he has, that was right here. So even if the opponent did try and catch him, they would not be able to assess that they had this Marine squad sitting here, basically in reserve. They would have only seen the riflemen and a couple of flamer squads. They also probably wouldn't see the mortar that was sitting here, and they definitely did not see the AT gun that was sitting here. Although the AT gun eventually did reveal itself shooting the Stug. So I think that's the best lesson taken away from this R+ is quickly assessing, quickly assessing what to do with the information you have, right? And Crazy made an on-the-spot judgment. At least it felt like it was on the spot. That the Stug has gone way ahead. It hasn't seen me. The rest of the enemy is going to be behind him. So let me try and set up a trap for him. And he did do that very well. And furthermore, by placing this AT gun here, he was able to basically make this entire zone a no-go area for the Stug. So the Stug, if it had attempted to come back and try and support the rest of his call-in, it was blocked off by this AT gun. So this was just it's an excellent example of taking the information you have and utilizing it to make your opponent lose an R+ engagement. So even though Crazy didn't do like these normal things you expect to see in a R+ start, the way he used these basically allowed him to probably beat out a better composition. Because if you ask someone, hey, you've got a rifle squad and a Marine squad, a couple of flame NGs up against KCH, an officer, Stug, and some scope MP44 grenadiers, you'd say it's a pretty close matchup, if not in favor of the Axis player due to how good that infantry is. But the way Crazy was able to isolate those two sets of units that Gary had, and how he was able to drag them into those mines, basically allowed him to win that engagement. And I think that's the takeaway from this R+, and I hope you enjoyed.